well, the mission's getting over. Basically, I had to buy petrol. I've got the car back. Oh, yeah. That seems to be. I'm now getting next week. I've got to MOT it, so I'm going to be on a. Expect a 4-mile walk from Lindsay to Montacapsey walk next week. But that was needed the brakes done 2 weeks ago. Last week, my insurance got cancelled. I was like, oh God, what's going on? And it was my bank. So I phoned up to try, and then I got a thing saying it's like, oh, you've got an outstanding bill to pay because it never get paid. I was like, oh, right, okay. So I phoned up and I went right through all the rigmarole of waiting in the queue and all that, and then I was typing in, I had to type in my number, the number of my card, into the thing. I was like, up here, yeah, and the guy was on the other end of the phone, so up here, yeah, and what's your expiry date? Oh, it was the end of January. That was why the insurance got cancelled. So I didn't have anything. Then it's like, so I contacted the bank, and they're like, you know, you should normally get sent out. I don't remember ever having ordered bank cards before. So I normally send you out a month in advance, but mine never got sent to me. Instead, it was marked as return to branch. So I don't know. Maybe I wonder if that was maybe the Royal Mail strikes or something. I don't know what the reason for it was. So now basically I'm back on the road for a week until I have to get an MOT, and hopefully I'll get my MOT. And as usual, hopefully I get my MOT. Seems I've just spent 150 quid and getting the brakes done. It'd be nice if I would pass the MOT. Yeah, so I've just bought a couple of keys of, you know, coming into East Kilbride, bringing in a couple of keys of Dugman's for Scott, for my wee butcher just next to McDonald's in Kirky, which I didn't even know was there. I was looking at their human foods, and it looked pretty good. I'm definitely going to have to go in. It's like rolls and sausage, you know, square sausage and stuff like that, and I just get the impression it just looked good. I bet it's the same stuff you can get, you know, packaged up for the Co-op or something else. So I'm going to pakoras and all sorts of stuff like that. So I'm going to get some meat. Probably not on my way home, but maybe tomorrow or something like that. I don't fancy taking it all the way over to Scots and then sitting in the car all evening and then come back later on. The guy was laughing, and it was one of those things. He was laughing, and I was like, I kind of think I recognise this guy. Does this guy know me? You know, because it's in Kirky. Did I go to school with him? Did I used to work with him? Blah 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 blah. And I'm wearing my fucking Bucky jumper, so obviously he was openly laughing at the fact I was wearing my Bucky jumper. But I never said anything. You just forget about it. The first time I wore this, I was like pure, you know, like kind of covering it up and sort of showing people. Now it's back at, I don't care. It's cool. Just live with it. Yeah. So I'm dropping off the couple of guitars I got, the expensive ones, but much hilarity online with. What was that? First you've got a Gibson Les Paul, now you've got an American Stratocaster. You're changing. I mean, both of them are really nice guitars. I'll give them that. They're just very expensive, and I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like, you know, sitting there. Scott was saying before, it's like the Ibanez Roadsters. Specifically the red one is the one he really likes. Which, to be honest, if he hadn't liked it so much, maybe I would have sold it on. I don't know. I was kind of thinking, oh, it's something good. You know, when I bought it, I took it over to Scott. Scott was just like that. 10 out of 10. That's fucking amazing. Like that, right? But I think you're really in the situation for put new strings on the Roadster, and it's better than an American Strat with strings that are a month old. So you know that's the kind of level you're at with not perfect strings on it. Whereas if they both get perfect strings, then no, I don't know. Again, it's a humbucker. It's a wee bit. Actually, design-wise, you could argue that it's an improvement in the design of a Stratocaster. You know, it's the HSS, the bridge, actual functionality of the bridge works better. I think it stays in tune better and it travels more than the actual concept. Doesn't really matter how well you build the Strat. You know, obviously we're talking about an American premium Strat. It's the best Strat you can get, but the Roadster does just have, I think it's got an extra fret, you know, slightly better for high fret access, it's a little bit comfier, all these things, none of them make it look cool, and the build quality is Japanese, so it's fine, it's not that, and what was the other one, the Les Paul, the black one, which, I don't know, I feel really bad having to charge the guy money for it, but I'm dropping it off on the way over to Scott's, but I did drive over to go and get it. So it's like, you know, I've got to charge him petrol, and it did take an hour to do that, you know, so it's like I can't do that for nothing. And even though it's two guitars, neither of them really needed a lot of work, or the Strat really didn't need in, but I did still check everything, you know what I mean? I had to go through it and tune it up, and so it takes time. And the Les Paul, it was the issue with it not staying in tune was it'd been painted at some point, and someone had painted over the nut. The nut was black anyway, but when they taped off the fingerboard to paint it, they didn't tape off the nut. So I was like, why are they sticking the nut? The slot looks fine. And when I started, I went in with the file just to try to, I've just smoothed them out. I was like, what's going on here? It was like the spray paint had gone in the nut, so obviously you've got paint in the nut slot. But that's something that I don't even know how. I'd checked everything else on the guitar before I got to the nut slot. I was thinking, it's going over everything else. You just never really know what you're going to get with guitars. Something like that's not going to be in any books. It's like, I did a course. A course doesn't tell you to look to see if the nut's been painted. You've got to kind of approach it from your outside. And cheers to, who was it? It wasn't Jeff, it was, I can't remember who it was that said there. You should just Google the Frank, I think one of the Franks. Google the Soviet guitar, find out what it does. And my whole point was I wanted to not just be following a diagram, but I mean looking up that diagram was a good idea. So cheers, because now I realise that the last of the knobs is a blend pop, like a stereo left-right thing. So I had it up at full, which is probably right. So that would kind of explain why the left side wasn't working. If it's a balance pot, so it wanted to be in the middle. It didn't have a centre indent in it, I don't think. But obviously, if I had it turned fully to right, that would be why half the guitar didn't work. But now I kind of know what's going on. It's not actually that confusing. There's only a couple of things in it that don't really make any sense to me. The high pass thing, it's got like a high pass filter circuit in it, which is a bit. I don't really know where that would be that much use, to take away all the bass, so you end up with super trebly. That's not something I think I would ever really use myself, but it could be there. And what was the other thing that was funny about it? Yeah, there's a slightly confusing system where it knocks. It kind of makes humbuckers, but a lot of the switches override what other switches do. So the three switches, there's 4 on-off switches, right, that's pretty simple. There's a stereo mono switch, which is pretty simple. The other switches, it kind of knocks them into pairs of in series humbuckery type things. But if you've got switch 1 on, it does this. If you put switch 2 on, switch 1 doesn't do anything. And if you put switch 3 on, switch 1 does do something that switch 2 doesn't do. It's kind of not a great system, I don't think. Just for, I'm not talking about how it's actually wired. The actual fundamentals behind it aren't that bad. It's more the trying to explain to a normal person, or even me, why you would want that, how to operate the thing. And I used to do that with a lot of my own guitars. You'll notice that even the ones with the crazy wiring and stuff like that, most of them are relatively simple to operate. You don't really need to understand exactly what's going on, but I always like it that you've got a switch, or as I say, if you put all the switches up to the top, it's just a normal Les Paul or whatever, it's like, so there's a way of getting out of it, and you don't end up in this mad, oh no, how do I get it to just sound like a normal guitar? I want that option always on a guitar to just go, right, turn off all the stupid stuff and just give me a bridge humbucker, for example. It's like, that all came from one of the first crazy wiring jobs I did on my own, which is a BC Rich Mockingbird. I did just a 2 humbuckers guitar, and I managed to find, by total chance, the following week, another BC Rich DiMarzio humbucker from the same era that even looked the same. I've never seen one since or on any other guitars. I've got it for like a tenner. Right, so 3 humbuckers went in it. I was happy. Right, here we go with the crazy switching. And because the Mockingbird I have, it was just it was a basic. It just had, I think it was 2 volumes, a switch and a tone sort of thing. But it had the big control cavity in the back. Like, you get the Mockingbirds that have got all the, a lot of the BC Riches have got all the switches in them. You've got phases and preamps and all that. It had a cavity that was big enough to take all that stuff. So I filled it. I filled my cavity. Filled it. So I had that running at one point with 7 switches, so 3 humbuckers. Each one had a volume control, 3 volume controls. Each one had a on, off, and out and reverse phase switch. So each one had them. So 3 of them, one for each pickup. And then each one of the humbuckers had a switch that was single coil, parallel wired, series wired. So you had like a humbucker, a single coil, and the parallel wiring is, it's hum cancelling, but sounds much more like a single coil. Not quite like a single coil, but somewhere between a humbucker and a, well, a bit of a slightly muddier single coil, but it's hum cancelling, so it doesn't buzz. And I think that another switch, I think it's 7 switches in it, and a master tone. And although it worked and it sounded really good, it wasn't easy to flip between switches, and basically every time I ended up playing I would spend so long setting up sounds. I mean, you could get the most amazing array of sounds, you know, like this pickup, it was mental, but it was so hard to operate. It was like a synthesizer. I literally would spend, you know, playing a guitar for 5 minutes, 3 of those minutes would be me sitting going, oh, what if I do this? And just clicking switches. So I've always tried to keep things much simpler than that ever since then. That was kind of very new at the start, even though some of them are pure stupid. You know, where the point was to make the most complicated, or not the most complicated, but the hardest one to use. But the Soviet guitar, it doesn't, it's not, what it's doing is not that complicated, it's just the way it's laid out. And as soon as I opened it up and looking at it, and the pots are, I mean, a pot's a pot, they've all got to be the same, but these are Soviet ones, so they're kind of ones from a submarine or a telephone exchange or something, and they're just different from the normal pot. It's just physically, size-wise and shape-wise, but the actual function's the same. And it's the same with the switches, and the fact that it's got that wiring loom that kind of reminds me of a, you know, like, I don't know, like a submarine or something. And it's a bit of a daunting task to go into it, but I think I'm not done with it yet. That was my first initial go in and let's see what's going on. I don't think it's I think something's broken somewhere. It's a case of finding it down. I wonder if the pots, a couple of the pots might be out, which would explain, I think, maybe something in the left side of the signal chain doesn't work. And I think because something doesn't work, the whole left side of the signal chain doesn't work. Because the actual pickups all were given output readings, so the pickups work, and the switches all work because I checked them all. So it's got to be one of the pots, and it doesn't look like someone's been in there fanning about with it that much. It's still got like the looms are held together. You know, sometimes you get a wee bit of heat shrink cabling or like a tie wrap. This has actually got string, like really well tied, like quite not origami. What's the thing I'm thinking of? You know, when you make macrame, is it macrame? Kind of like that, but it's like very well done with the sort of string that you would get to tie up like a joint, you know, like a ham joint or something, you know, that kind of string, the sort of thin but quite strong string. Yeah, all fun. So today I'm taking over, I was going to do a what's in the bag and take over the double neck door Telecaster, but it doesn't fit in any bags because it's a stupid size, which is something you just have to accept. Someone actually suggested what I should have done was saw it in half and put a door hinge on it in the middle. Damn it, that would have been a good idea. But I don't really see any physical reason why that wouldn't have worked. But I'd have to start from scratch again to do that. I'm not going to try and chop it up now. But that would be pretty cool, because then if you folded it, you know, the two guitars back to back, it would fit in like an acoustic gig bag or something. Quite nice. Plus it would have door hinges on it because it's a door. I don't know if I would, to be honest, if I would ever make one out of a door again. I've already used a door. Oh, this is a nightmare, this. I see it works. The lights are at green. I've got to go around this. Whoa! I'm not sexist. I'm not sexist. But that was a woman who just basically went across that roundabout. I was going right, she was going straight on. So she just went from the left lane, straight through it, straight over my lane, and then straight off the other side, completely oblivious to the fact that there was a car. There's actually, you know, you go round, you're going on to the outside of the roundabout and then off the outside of the roundabout, not just going in a straight line right across both lanes. You just wonder how many times that woman's driven across that roundabout like that and just luckily never hit anyone, or people just been going, whoa! I'm not sexist. I shouldn't be sexist. I think it's sexist. So what I've been listening to basically today, as I got up, is Super Freak by, oh god, I forgot the guy's name, Chris something, Ryan something, I can't remember his name is, from Clement's video, did a video bass cover of Super Freak, which is, I didn't realise it was a song on its own right. You know, the MC Hammer, that one, Can't Touch This, that song, I didn't realise it was a sample, or not so much a sample as just like a whole chunk of the music, just all the good bits taken, but I really like the video for it. It's fucking hilarious. She's the kind of girl you don't show your mother. It's really funny. The guy's fucking hilarious. I suppose you could call it funk. I don't really know. 1982, I think it's from. Oh, a great song. I really like it. The video's hilarious as well. He's got like a long haircut. He's covered in glitter, and he's like, you know, wearing this kind of sparkly outfit, and he's got these sexy, very much 1982 girls dancing behind him. Song of the week anyway. Possibly my favourite song I've heard this year, actually. I missed out on all this stuff. It's kind of reminded me a little bit of a time when I heard, was it last year, the year before, Hot Stuff, Madonna Summer, because it was in, again I found that because somebody had put one of those mashup things, and it was Hot Stuff and an Ozzy Osbourne song, you know, with the two videos mashed together, and it was like, yeah, it was quite clever, but I was like, that's fucking great. So looking at the Hot Stuff, I really love that song. I just missed out on that. Probably about the same year, it's like 1980, 1982. Never listened to music like that. I think maybe I've been, although I probably didn't really get it at the time, when I was playing with Jessie Ray, he was obviously funk, which I didn't really understand what funk was, or what it was. I think at the time I was calling it electro because it had synths in it, but funk is, I kind of get it now. I wish I'd got it. I wish I'd understood it when I was playing bass and band. I mean, I was able to play it, but I wasn't fully getting what the point was of it. And there is a point to funk, and maybe it might not be, I don't know. It's amazing. I did notice a lot of people dancing at the Jessie gigs, I mean, because it is really good for dancing too. It's like, I suppose it's just before you got dance music. But I can't remember that guy's name now, who did. I feel I'm selling him short. I'd never even heard of the guy. But really good. I've never seen anyone go right there before in my life. There's two cars going right there. So thankfully, probably the duck mince I bought is frozen. So I was just getting, I'd imagine duck mince is like, it's basically just all the stuff that's left over from a cow. It's not really a human thing, you know, like bad cuts, lungs and stuff like that. Tripe maybe, I don't know. It's just in big frozen cubes though. Scott asked me to get a kilo. They didn't have kilos, they just had a big bags. It's only £7. So I'm sure Troy will like it anyway. I'm sure he'll eat it. It's worth a go. There was no weight on it. He said it was the butcher in East Kilbride where he lives is £4.50 a kilo. I'm pretty sure that was £7. I'm pretty sure that's more than 2 kilos. Maybe it's 2 kilos. It's like £1 cheaper. I don't know. But Troy is a big dog. It's quite funny actually. He seems such, Troy here, seems like such an intelligent and graceful beast, you know, and not silly at all. You know, when you meet him, he's lovely, but you get the impression he's kind of more intelligent than you are. You know, you sit there in the room with me, Scott and Troy, and you get the impression that Troy doesn't necessarily think he's the least intelligent of the three of us. But Scott showed me some video of him. They were up. He was running about a river, and he was running about like a mad duck, having a laugh. You know, it's like he's kind of, his veneer of sensibleness cracked a little bit. I know you're just a big duck. You can pretend to be some sort of Satan hound or some sort of intelligent being trapped inside a duck's body. You see him running about into the river and running about in circles and stuff. He's a duck. He's a duck. And cheers, Burger Bob, for telling me about the Supreme Foods place in Turkey. I'm definitely going to go back and get some roasted sausages and stuff like that. Give them a shot, see what they're like. Cool, so wee random video, catch you later. I'm just actually testing to see if it worked. The last video I did, the audio cut in it. I did a video when I was over picking up those 4 crazy guitars of Mr. Alan Bucky Rage, and I really feel he wanted me to go, but I didn't really notice at the time. But you watch it and it's like kind of, yeah, you've got the guitar, fuck off, get out of my house, I'm not at my dinner yet, type of thing. He was far too nice to say that, but I think I've talked too much. So that video's kind of slightly a bit awkward from the point of view of going, oh man, see when I actually see the video of me in my head and I'm just continually talking far more than I should be. No, I need to try and calm it down a little bit. I'm terrible at talking. What comes in worse is when I end up talking to when I meet someone else who's the same, and then it becomes an issue. Like that was Neil front row guitar was round dropping off a couple of strats to do some work on, which I'll get to last week. And he was like, I phoned him, or he phoned me. We were on the phone for an hour. Right, I'm okay, right, I've got stuff to do. I'll be in, but I'm only going to be 10 minutes. And he came round at like 6 o'clock, and he wasn't away till about 9. Just da, 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 da. And it's like, when two of us meet, two talkers meet, time gets eaten. Two talks.